Hey, here's this.
God damn it! This is a dark fucking period!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Away Games. This is
This
actually is still a Chicago Cubs podcast. Why though?
I've been drinking.
Adam's been. I've been. I guess I'm usually pretty stone cold sober for this podcast because we usually do it in the daytime, and I'm not like that.
Yeah.
As a drunk.
No.
I am drunk.
Yeah.
And as a person. but
you are drunk.
Yeah. I'm Kevin. I'm Kevin McCaffrey. This is Adam Mamawala.
Hey, guys.
We were going to record this after the game on Tuesday night.
Then we couldn't keep watching it.
We couldn't withhold our enthusiasm to talk about the Cubs. So I just set up the podcast equipment in my apartment, and as I walked in here, some no-name named Gonzalez hit another two-run homer for the Pirates. And that's that. It was I don't
remember 8 days ago.
I do remember 8 days ago. I mean, what day? It's Tuesday. 8 days ago, I was at Wrigley.
Yeah,
with our friend Ken Schultz and with both my brothers.
For the last Cubs win of the year.
With all the social media people. Social media night was the last Cubs win of the year. And I know this is coming out Wednesday morning. I kind of think the Cubs are going to lose out. I believe in them that they're going to historically lose out at this point. They have not won a game since the last time we did a podcast plus a couple days.
So just an 82 and 80?
I think so.
Just a Pacoda-ass year?
Yeah, 3 games over Pacoda. That's how dumb Pacoda is, though. They thought the Cubs are going to be worse than this. This is worst case scenario.
Well, the manner of it is worst case scenario. I mean, obviously the record in and of itself is, but also like just the way that it's happened.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The way that it's happened. What, Adam, do you want to sum up how it's happened?
You know, there's part of me that's like, I feel bad being so much of a downer, but also if you are a person who is listening to this right now, you know what the fuck is up.
I got to say, if you're listening to this right now,
God bless you, really.
I don't want to watch any more Cubs.
No.
We keep saying that, but then we keep doing it, I guess.
And I truly feel that over the course of this year and a half that we've been doing this, we have been a largely very positive podcast.
We are a podcast.
Incredibly so.
We are a positive. We're actively not haters.
We're not.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you have to just call things as they are.
What's not to hate? It's the thing where it's a microcosm of earlier in this year when there were specific things to pick apart as opposed to just being like everything sucks.
Yeah.
When there's a level of not hater that I think is delusional when people are just like, Jason Hayward's wonderful at everything all the time, or Yu Darvish is great for the first half of this year. He wasn't. This is how bad Yu Darvish was the first half of this year. His second half, his ERA is still at 4. He's been a fucking Cy Young in the second half. Incredible numbers. But that's how bad he was in the first half. So we would talk about how bad he was in the first half. Not personally. I hope in both the cases of him and Hayward, it's like guys you root for and you like.
Yeah, I mean, we were and have been at worst rational and at best homers.
Yeah, I think so. And now it's just like this is the word.
There's nothing.
The word gutless comes to mind. The game today.
Today is gutless.
The Cubs put
the weekend series. I don't even put in that category. As much.
No,
that's just heartbreaking and bad luck and just awful.
Yeah, it was just a confluence of terrible events. A real Lemony Snicket ass weekend.
Which is not the first time we've made that reference on this podcast. Which should tell you how this season is going.
He shouldn't have more than one Lemony Snicket drop a year. But it has been, this weekend with Kimbrel blowing at the back-to-back homers after that game. The Yu Darvish pitching such a great game, and defensive replacement Albert Almora just getting completely confused and lost in center and leading to that loss. The bats not doing what they should any game except for the game where they scored 8 runs and then Kimbrel gave up the 2. The St. Louis weekend was heartbreaking. Tonight, Tuesday night, Adam came over. We watched this game. We're like, all right, we'll podcast after it. We watched Kyle Hendricks take a no-hitter despite everyone else on the team, basically. It was, I think, 3 or 4 errors when he left. 4, I think.
Couple on Nico, 1 on Hap.
Could have been 3 on Nico, too. And he botched Contreras. Would have been a caught stealing after Nico let the first hitter of the game on with an error. Hap dropped a pop-up. Second time he's dropped a pop-up like that in the infield. And I don't know that I've seen another major leaguer drop a pop-up like that in the infield this year. I say this as an Ian Happ supporter who wants him on the team next year and getting more regular at-bats from day one. But when you got an outfielder playing in the infield and he can't catch a pop-up, it's a real bummer.
Right.
And then Zobrist has just been bad defensively. since he came back.
I think maybe at that age and having missed that much time is just catching up to him. 2
games in San Diego, right? And one of them cost him the game.
Yep.
Zobrist had big errors, and then today he had another error on a ground ball right at him. And then Danny Holtzen threw the ball away on what could have been a double play ball in this nightmarish 7th inning today. The point is, Kyle Hendricks had a no-hitter going for a long time. Cubs stranded a bunch of runners. It's a real microcosm of a lot of this season. Stranding runners, wasting a good pitching performance, and I mean, the defense has been worse. That's the biggest difference to me between now and 2016. It's defense and base running.
Right.
And it's weird because it's so many of the same guys, and they're not old yet, so they shouldn't be that much worse.
Let's talk like big picture stuff.
Yeah.
But like before we even get into how the last week was, and if we don't want to, we're not required to
y'all
do
get
anything. You know, you've watched the same games, but
Right.
like there's a few things that come to mind. First of all, extremely big picture. Ultimately, are we going to remember the 2016 Cubs like we remember the 85 Bears as like this was an amazing team, but they should have done more than just that year?
It's
Or how
hard.
people think of like the 86 Mets, like a team that's like specifically very good and just doesn't do anything more than that.
To me, I feel like it would be more 86 Mets than 85 Bears, but I also
Less drugs. But.
Yeah, less drugs. We're also in our 30s, so it's hard to really get the vibe on those teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people really love those 85 Bears in Chicago to a degree I don't even fully understand, kind of. But I think the Mets, and I mean, the Bears were in contention, I think, for the NFC title a lot of in the years surrounding 85 to the couple years after, at least, right? But the thing is, this Cubs team, they made 3 NLCS, World Series win, NLCS, and then divisional series, NLCS, World Series.
NLCS, and then last year,
which was,
they still won 95 games, but ultimately very frustrating.
But yeah, very unlucky, and then the offense broke, and Theo fixed it by signing Daniel Descalso. And that's it. So but yeah, they won 95 games and lost game 163, and then lost game 164. 2 one-game playoffs they lost. So, I mean, to me, this team has been, up until this collapse, the Cubs still had an argument for, like, the team of the last 4 or 5 years. Like,
I mean, wins-wise, certainly, and just in terms of, like, being right there.
Right, because
I think last year detracted from that, and it seems to me that, like, despite all of this, you know, we're going to take every game more seriously and all of that stuff, like, it seems like the negative energy from the end of last year kind of carried over into this year, and the terrible start did not help.
Terrible start, and Chris Bryant said that he alluded to the fact that basically a lot of those comments that were made did affect the team's vibe, like the comments Theo made, and basically everyone feeling like they're playing for Joe Madden's job, and you know, and I do think I very much like how upfront Theo is for the most part. I like how candid he is, and I like that when he says stuff that I tend to believe. I don't feel like I'm getting bullshitted by him. But last year, he says the offense broke, and we need a sense of urgency where we can't be giving away a game at any point. On like the last game of the series,
if you win the first 2,
day,
don't just like be happy with the 2 of 3.
Right, and yet they signed nobody. And you can say a lot of that's the budget, whatever, but they didn't sign anybody. So the offense broke, and nothing.
Which, sure, blame Ricketts instead of Epstein. That's
fine. But then he's saying this isn't acceptable, and then they do nothing functionally to fix it.
Right.
And then with all the talk about like, oh, we can't give away a game. Well, they did not have the best 25 on this roster for most of this year. So they're giving away at bats with Descalso, leading off Almora far too many times. Playing Addison Russell as much as they did, Ian Happ being gone as much as he did, as much as he was. This was not a team that was general managed or managed really like there couldn't be a giveaway game. So the shit Theo said at the end of the season last year, actively they did not do. To me.
No, they didn't do it.
So, it's extremely disappointing. And one thing Adam said as we were watching this is this season ending the way it is. And as we talk, it's funny, the Cubs, they still couldn't even be technically eliminated by the end of Tuesday,
No.
which makes it even more maddening that they lost in this fashion because
I
they
assume
had
they lost, haven't even
slightly
checked.
more of a chance. Yeah, I'm gonna say they did.
Top of the ninth, still down 9-2, which is just how we thought it would be after Hendricks pitched.
6 no-hit innings, but it deserved about 8 innings worth of outs, I guess.
There's going to be a lot of heavy sighs on this podcast.
Guess what, Cubs?
You blew it!
Yep.
Has that soundbite ever been more apt?
No. Hey, and then we have the Ricketts. On line 1, the Ricketts are
Help
calling
me, I'm
in.
poor.
Yeah.
No.
What's that? What's that, Tom?
Help me, I'm poor.
No.
Yep. Man.
I believe what you were going to allude to was that it just felt weird that for the first time in a long time, the Cubs are essentially playing meaningless games.
Yeah.
Like to watch a Cubs game and be like, this literally doesn't matter. It's so weird.
2014 was the last time.
Yep.
24 and 2014 was the last time you had more than. I mean, there has not been a single game that didn't matter since 2014.
Yeah, other than like we already clinched in 2016, but that's not quite the same thing.
No, right, exactly. Yeah,
It almost feels to me like and again, I'm not going to sit here and act like the window is closed or that the Cubs aren't going to be a good team in the next couple of years, because I don't believe that.
No.
But there are going to be fundamental structural changes to this roster, I believe, in the offseason. And so if we can look at this 5-year period as having been like this core group, it seems to me that they arrived a year too soon and left a year too early.
I think that's interesting. Yeah, because
like 2015, we didn't think that was going to happen.
2015 was a bonus year, and they got to the Final Four.
And 2019 is a lost year.
Yeah, I think that's well put. We got the number of years we should have, but they were out of order, kind of.
Yeah.
97-win team in 2015 was super unexpected. Getting to the Final Four. Getting swept by the Mets at that point. But as of a week ago, I really thought this team was a week and a half ago. I thought this team was very much in the mix. I mean, it's not a thought.
You think about
it's
that Pittsburgh
mathematical.
series and then that win on social media night against the Reds 8-2, and you're saying to yourself like, hey, it would be a bummer if they didn't win the division, but get into the wild card game and see what can happen. And once we get guys healthy, which we presumably would have, who knows?
Adam and I got tickets for the theoretical wild card game in Washington, and just that seems like a real goof now.
Yeah.
There's just it's weird. It's an inexplicably bad end to a year. The roster's better than this, but also it still could have been better. No one did their job well enough. I mean, in the second half, Darvish was fantastic. Anthony Rizzo, I don't know if I've ever... Anthony Rizzo's my favorite Cub. Mm-hmm. I've said that enough times. He's my favorite Cub. He's the one who remembers the losing. I don't know that I've been more impressed by Anthony Rizzo in any season than I am this season. When this motherfucker goes out there...
He's on one leg.
On one leg, and he's been good since he came back. After 3 games out, coming back up to the Undertaker music, sense of humor, but taking it serious. Homer's in that game against St. Louis. No one else wants to play offense, but Anthony Rizzo came back to do it. And that's one of those moments, much like the comeback in the St. Louis game when they tied it up in the 9th and Nico hits the ball hard but gets unlucky, as he did 2 days in a row.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. Like we, as Kevin and I were watching this game earlier, we said to each other, like, if, because Nico 2 straight nights against the Reds the night before and then against the Cardinals on Thursday, hits the ball right, better, as good as you can hit the ball, but right to somebody 2 straight nights. And I truly feel if that ball drops in and the Cubs come all the way back in that 9th inning on Thursday and they win 5-4, and all of a sudden they're back, I guess it would have been 2 or 1. I think 2. I think the whole weekend could have played out differently. And same thing as we're watching the game tonight, and the Cubs have chances with the bases loaded or with second and third, and they don't get it done. I couldn't remember the last time that the Cubs had gotten a big hit, and obviously they played well against the Pirates and all of that, but in terms of like a big hit in a close game, when you look at this series against St. Louis, you have Nico not having that ball drop. You have KB with the bases loaded in that Friday 2-1 loss, hitting the ball hard, but also, onto the warning track and it being an out. You have Javi coming in a true hero moment and getting a couple pitches that usually he drives and just not being able to do it. I'm not blaming him, but like
no, not at all.
It's just the reality of the situation.
He shouldn't even be in there, but it was the best option. You take your chance with your best guy. You hope for some magic there.
Exactly, and naturally, if you lose that many one-run games in a row, there's going to be chances in every game that you can look at, and I'm sure the Cardinals had lost opportunities as well. But it really was one of those, like, there were moments in 2016 repeatedly where you were like, this just feels like the Cubs year.
Yeah.
And conversely, in 2019, there have been so many negative moments where you just were like, this just isn't the year.
You couldn't have been told more times. Today, Sahadev Sharma put up a list on The Athletic of the 10 worst losses of the year.
I didn't even read it. Yeah.
Adam and I tweeted about this. Follow us at awaygamespod on Twitter and Instagram. But I tweeted this a couple of days ago before a couple of the horrible losses saying that the phrase, that has to be the worst loss of the year, right? I think is the most commonly spoken phrase between you and I this year.
Yeah.
We've said that so many times this year.
It almost every episode, which means like once a week there was a game that was a candidate for like, how the hell did they lose that game?
Oh, absolutely. And some terrible game, like tonight's a horrible loss because of how clownishly they literally threw it away. Just no one catching the ball, no one throwing the ball. So that's a horrible loss in one way, but so many where they just snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Mm-hmm. And so I said, this is loose meatball ballparking, but just they have to have won about 20% of the 50-50 games. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like 50-50 games this year had to go 20-80 against the Cubs, I think.
Well, if good teams win close games, then if the Cubs are fundamentally not a good team, they don't win those games. And that's how it's felt this year.
Literally they got swept in a 4-game series at home by their biggest rivals and their biggest competitors in the division at the time in all one-run games, which hasn't happened in like decades upon decades. I forget exactly how long, but
it's
like
crazy.
Since the 30s, I think.
Since 1915.
1915.
And obviously they have that great series against the Pirates where they're scoring a zillion runs. And even that Monday night that you were at the game, the Cubs win by 6.
Yeah.
And then they lose the next 6 by 6.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good. And this is how run differential goes crazy because
the Cubs should be like a 90-something win team, right?
Yeah, I think as going into today, by Pythagorean record, the Cubs and Braves would be tied at 89 wins. The Braves are well into the 90s win-wise. And the Brewers would be like in the 70s.
The Brewers would be in last place.
I think they'd have a losing record. I think
and that's why, and we alluded to this also, I think just you and me in conversation, like, it's very easy to look at all the injuries that have happened and be like, well, that's why the Cubs are where they're at. But the Brewers lost their best player and probably a top 3 player in baseball, and they haven't lost.
Right. Yeah, and they haven't lost at all. And there is something to be said where it's like, oh yeah, they lost Yelich, who you could say is better than anyone on the Cubs.
Yeah.
The Cubs lost Baez, they lost Rizzo for a bit, and then Rizzo's not. Rizzo's played great, but he's not 100% Rizzo.
No.
Chris Bryant they lost, and Craig Kimbrell they lost, and he came back, and he's not Craig Kimbrell. So the amount that the Cubs lost from their team, I think, is more than the Brewers lost. But the Brewers lost the singular best player, sure.
Yeah.
And the Cubs went completely in the tank, and the Brewers never lost again. So it's not even close at that point. And it's the second year in a row the Brewers are running away from it. I just want to say this. When I was saying about Anthony Rizzo coming back, playing hurt, all this stuff, and how I think he's the most underappreciated Cub, let me give you his numbers right now in the year. Basically, that injury, and they'll probably shut him down now that the Cubs will be officially eliminated. Yeah. He's only played 144 games this year because of injuries, and I say 144, that's a lot of games. So the people, I've read some shit online by otherwise smart people about like, oh, Rizzo, you got to be careful you don't want to extend him. You want to be careful because he's got the balky back and all this stuff. He gets in more games than most players year to year. This guy, the only reason he's not going to have 100 RBIs for the 5th year in a row, he's at 94 right now. The only reason is the injuries at the end there. So that's the only reason.
He could get there if they kept playing him, which they shouldn't.
Right, they shouldn't. But yeah, he could hit 2 3-run homers and he'd be there. His slash line this year, 294 batting average, 407 on base, over 400 on base this year by Anthony Rizzo, the best of his career. 294 is the best batting average of his career. His slugging 524, which is behind his 2016 number, but right in line with his what you expect from him. His OPS of 931, the best of his career. OPS plus not the best of his career because everyone's hitting more now, but OPS of 138, meaning basically 38% better than the average player in this league, and for the third time in his career, leading the league in hit by pitch. This guy is he is the heart and soul of this team, and he is a better baseball player than people realize, and he has been for a long time.
If I see him ever play in a uniform other than the Cubs uniform, I will be very sad.
I would be very sad as well. I'd be sadder to see him anywhere else than anyone. And he's out there fucking busting ass and still had another hit tonight, at least one, and you know, and vacuuming up anything that gets thrown over to first, no matter how many feet he's playing on. We're gonna have obviously multiple big like off-season podcasts on what we want to see happen in the off-season.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you want to hate watch the wild card game a week from tonight?
Jesus, maybe. Ugh. God, probably not. It's probably going to be Nationals.
I'll for sure be pulling for Scherzer and the Nats so fucking hard.
We actually still have tickets for it, right?
I guess we do.
I don't want to go.
No, we won't go. My buddy can use the tickets.
I'd be rooting for Scherzer as well. Yeah.
I don't mind the Nats. Root for Davey.
No, I like I got weirdly for a former Cub, I don't have a ton of love for Dave Martinez, but
it'd be cool to see. So if the Nats,
I love Scherzer.
It disgusts me to even be talking about this, but
yeah,
if the Nats win that game, then they would play the Dodgers, which is a great series.
That's sexy.
They could avenge their Game 5
and then Cardinals Braves.
Braves clearly hope for a Braves win. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of good teams in this postseason. The Cubs are going to be sitting this one out. And one thing Adam said earlier, which I started to say before but didn't fully get to, is will this season ending like it did basically make the Ricketts willing to greenlight another big signing, to greenlight putting bigger money out there? And the Cubs have a big payroll right now. That's not, and that's the thing. People, you'll see a counter argument, which I wouldn't even say is unfair, saying that, oh well, the Cubs have one of the highest payrolls in baseball, so it's not like the Ricketts aren't paying any money. No, that's true, but the surplus of money is such that there should be no reason that they're not spending more. I mean, the Red Sox are much higher in payroll. And also had a similarly they've been as bad as the Cubs this year. Coming into today, the Cubs had a better record than the defending champion Red Sox.
Yeah.
But will this year ending how it does make the Ricketts up for some big moves? Because there are some big free agents out there. Garrett Cole, major ace. You got Anthony Rendon out there. Those are the two big fish this year.
But I think the Red Sox have more of an excuse because of what they did last year. I mean, the Cubs are in a position where, or
not an excuse, but more like they get more. There's more slack, I guess.
Right, but in terms of the whole World Series hangover,
I know,
this is an analogy I can make because you are a self-proclaimed drunk.
Yeah.
If you go out on Friday night and you get hammered,
yes,
I am willing to listen to you bitch about that on Saturday. But if you're talking about how hungover you are on that Monday, shut the fuck up. You've had a whole weekend.
Sure, grow up.
So what are the Cubs doing here?
Sure, I would even say, yeah. What are they? What are they doing? Is a great question. Hold on.
What are they doing, Kevin?
The fuck are you doing?
Yep, there we go. See, I had a pretty good soundbite ready for that one. I've got the soundboard I usually only get to use for my other podcast, Sex and the City. Follow
plug,
us.
Big plug.
At Sex and the City. It's me and John Daly watching TV.
That's how bad
TV
this
writer.
season's gone.
Yep,
We're
I'm
plugging Sex and the
shit.
City podcast.
You want to plug anything? Any of your stuff?
I don't give a fucking
Buy
shit.
Adam's album.
Give that album a boost.
Yeah, give that album a boost.
We might talk about that next week in greater detail in relation to Ben Zobrist.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's a teaser for you.
There should be, this offseason we should go more, dive into the comedy side of us a little bit more. And this is the season to get dark. 'Tis the season. A former Colts coach, Jim Moore, is calling in. He's a Cubs fan.
Oh, what does he have to say?
We sucked.
There we go. That's it.
I assumed it would be playoffs.
Yeah, that's it. Could have been. There's two Jim Moore sound bites that could have worked for that. All right, and that's it. I didn't realize how much of the soundboard is just things that are sad, but I guess it does make sense. And finally...
Excuse me, could I have a glass of alcohol when you get a chance?
Yeah, thank you.
What is that one from?
That's from Bridesmaids.
Oh,
That's
nice.
Ellie Kemper. Yeah. God
We
damn.
are both drinking glasses of alcohol right now, and I don't know if it's helping.
Yeah, well, it's not hurting for now. But yeah, the hangover thing, it's like, yes.
I got it in the first half of 2017. Totally.
Yeah. You can have a slow start.
Mm-hmm.
But get it the fuck together. It's not even like I don't even respect people complaining about their hangover the next day, because you did it, you idiot, and
Right.
I'm the you in that sense most of the time. But skimping on your obligations, you can call out a brunch the next day. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. You can show up to work a little late if there's nothing super pressing. But yeah, Wednesday, and you're not doing your job, get the fuck out.
Right. Look at the Astros.
Yeah.
High-functioning alcoholics.
They really are. Yeah, they're figuring it out. Yeah.
100 wins every year.
100 wins every year, and every prospect they call up is just a whip ass. Yordan Alvarez is friggin' nuts. Yeah, really, not even every prospect that they call up kicks ass, but I mean, every pitcher who goes there is just suddenly awesome, which is suspicious. I believe they're cheaters, but I also wish the Cubs had Justin Verlander, and they could have. And that's another mistake.
Well, so could have the Yankees or many other teams.
Yeah, that's true. But we got Jose Quintana. God bless. Would have taken maybe one more piece to get Verlander than it took to get Quintana is the thing in the same year.
Same
And
year.
yeah, exactly. And Quintana's another guy who I like, but also we're not haters. That's another guy where there are people who are like too much not haters who will not acknowledge that, like, it's been a little disappointing. The guy's sitting on a 4 ERA, you know?
Yeah, he's been like as average as one can be.
Mm-hmm. And he was a little better than that before.
I mean, he's average in the sense that, like, sometimes he seems amazing and sometimes he seems terrible, and largely he seems average.
And the thing is,
which averages out to average.
Right, and the Cubs gave up a lot for him, whatever. I'm a big fan of paying with minor league prospects to get much better.
I don't think they win the division that year without that trade.
Right, and I'm put yourself in the playoffs in your window. Every year is sacred, so I'm down with that. But I'm not down with Mike Montgomery is basically Jose Quintana, and the Cubs traded him for Martin Maldonado. So Mike Montgomery as a starter in Kansas City, if you guys haven't been paying attention, and why would you really? But his numbers are equivalent to Cole Hamels' numbers on the year as a starter. He had last I looked, he had a 3.59 ERA, which is exactly the same as Cole Hamels until Hamels had his rough go lately. But in the American League with the DH, Mike Montgomery, a starter who had proven himself as a pretty decent starter when the Cubs let him start here, was traded for Martin Maldonado.
And if every year is sacred, maybe let's do a little bit better than Descalso, Cedeno, and Barnett.
That was the offseason.
The big three, if you will.
We're the big three this offseason. And the Cubs do have a team option on Tony Barnett, who may
gotta pick that up.
$3 million.
You just gotta.
2 Descalzos for 1 Barnett? You gotta do that money. Shit. Yeah. It sucks. It sucks.
I mean, this podcast is really not going to age well. This podcast is not going to age well when the Cubs win out and the Brewers lose out.
And
the
just
Cubs,
miraculously.
imagine a week from now, we're like, hey,
Well, sheepishly,
we're going to Washington.
Sheepishly reporting live from Washington, D.C. for the second time
Nothing would make
this
me
year.
happier than doing that, but it will not happen, and
No.
I assure you that.
Yeah. Me neither. It's a real bummer. I don't know how much more there is to say, really, because we're not going to get deep into
Not
the
much.
off-season hopes and dreams and what's. I was showing Adam. I've already made the spreadsheet of free agents I'm interested in, which I don't want to be making at this point in the year. I want to be focused on playoff rosters, but that's what this year has given us.
Kevin is so deep into the free agent class that he opened an incognito tab to start this spreadsheet.
I did actually.
It's filthy. It really is.
Is
Is it actually?
It's no bullshit. It's the dark color. See, it's the it is an incognito tab.
It's unnecessary.
It is unnecessary. I don't even know why I did that, but I felt dirty about it. I guess I made four lineups.
Yeah, because one of them includes Mookie Betts.
Yeah,
Teaser.
I don't. Ooh, I didn't include that one in this, but I was explaining my thoughts to Adam.
That
on
should
that.
definitely be an incognito tab.
Yeah, that's too sexy. Too sexy. There should be some soundbite
Not suitable
that's
for
like
Wednesday.
that. Yeah,
Download us
exactly.
every Wednesday.
Yeah.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Okay. All right. So please follow us at awaygamespod on Instagram and Twitter. Is there anything else?
God, let's hope not.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that was an easy podcast to do. Sometimes we've
Yeah.
struggled this year.
Well, Well, we'll see. We'll see how easily the off-season podcasts go. Right now, it feels like a lot.
The off-season podcast, fuck it, man. I'm excited about...
It could be a pretty... There may be more going on this offseason than any offseason in recent memory.
That's what I thought going into last year with the free agent class
I think
that was there.
It will happen this year.
And that's what I thought.
Not in terms of big signings, but just like people moving around.
Right. Well, there's more different ways the Cubs could go in important ways heading into this offseason than ever in this window. I mean, there's foundational pieces that could be traded. I don't want to see Chris Bryant leave. I don't want to see Wilson Contreras leave. But but I think there are reasonable
Schwartz too.
Yeah, Schwartz too. And there are reasonable cases to be made for trading any of those three guys. I think. I don't want to. I want them all to stay, but there's reasonable cases to be made for trading those guys. And you trade any one of those, and then it opens up. Who do you want to sign in free agency? You trade Contreras, you sign a Yasmani Grandal. Depends on who you get for Contreras.
You trade KB, you sign Rendon.
Yeah, exactly. Trade KB, sign Rendon, and what you could get for KB. But whatever. There's ways that I could understand that this could be interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, how do you think Miracle the Musical is drawing numbers wise?
Man,
right now?
I bet they can't be thrilled about how about this final breakdown. That's what you get for bumping Adam, you dinks. Yeah, that's you don't bump Adam and keep your show open. That's what I say. I'm Kevin.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, this is not what we hoped it would be.
No, it's not. But hopefully, if you are, honest to God, if you're listening to our podcast at this point in the season, you are one of the.
God bless you.
You're
truly.
a real one. I mean, because. You're a real one. That if you're listening to any Cub podcast, because we're not the top-rated Cub podcast.
No,
we're not top 2. We're not. I don't think we might not be top 3.
I don't know where we are.
No, not top 2.
Needless to say, if you're listening to anybody talk about the Cubs and you're choosing to do that,
that's what I'm saying.
Then you're us.
Yeah, then you are us. Jesus Christ.
And we commend you for that.
Thanks for listening, everybody. At awaygamespod on Twitter and Instagram. God bless you for listening. God bless you for watching. We're sorry about all of it.
Oh, wait. One last thing.
Yeah.
I think we're still sponsored by Thrive Fantasy.
No, that's great. Thrive Fantasy, please. I mean, we are, but do they want to sponsor us
I
still?
don't know, man.
Use the code AWAYGAMES at Thrive Fantasy. You get a $10 deposit if you put in $10. And then if you're the Cubs and you put in $10, you'll lose it all immediately.
Yeah.
But spend $10 on Daniel Descalzo and ask for a refund.
Misallocate $10 if you're the Cubs.
Hell yeah. Good night.